Okay. Hello everyone, this is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul. Tonight we're going to continue with our study of paper 47, the 7 mansion worlds, and we're on section 8, the 6th mansion world, and that starts on page 537.6 in the original book, and or if you have the other books, it's paper 47.8.1. And so let's get started. Sweetie, would you say a little prayer for us? Get started.
Dear Heavenly Father, Mother God, in the quiet of these moments we come to you and ask for peace and health and goodwill towards others. Bless our minds tonight and keep us open and receptive to the knowledge which will be taught tonight from the magnificent revelations given to us. We thank you for everything, for life, all of our friends and loved ones and family. Keep us in your will. Help us to be true and honest. It is in your name, Jesus Christ, Michael, we pray. Amen.
Oh my goodness, I got something going on here with the computer. Y'all excuse me.
Restarting in 15 minutes and 4 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, gracious.
In 4 hours. Postpone. Okay. We'll try that. We did that last time. Remember that time? It took 2 hours for it to come back up. It's trying to get Tim Brock back here. Millie, are you out there?
I guess not.
Looks like I'm connected to Millie. Might be one of those odd nights because of this storm.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get Tim back here.
This is so exciting, though. Yeah, really.
It is.
As we progress in the mansion worlds.
Well, ladies and gentlemen at home, we're having some technical difficulties connecting everybody tonight, unfortunately. So, me and my wife are going to start this out tonight.
Okay.
And as people come back, we will try to reconnect them.
I see you.
Hi, Millie.
I didn't think you were out there.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, we got Millie back.
You doing okay?
I'm exhausted. I had a long day.
Yeah, we did too. Here we all are together, though.
Yeah, we're all a little bit under the weather here today. I've been running a low-grade fever all day today. So, same symptoms I had last week. So I don't know what it is. Anyway, we're going to muddle our way through it. We don't have that long of a paper tonight, so we'll see how we do.
Yeah, we do. It's very short, actually.
Yeah. Would you like to read first? Tim?
Sure. 8. The 6th mansion world. Sojourners on this sphere are permitted to visit transition world number 6, where they learn more about the high spirits of the super universe, although they are not able to visualize many of these celestial beings. Here they also receive their first lessons in the prospective spirit career, which so immediately follows graduation from the Moransha training of the local universe.
Okay, so when we get to the 6th mansion world, we get clearance to the transition world number 6, okay, which is where all the high angels live. So, and many of them are so high that we cannot see them, right? So, except for periods of visualization where they allow us to see them, many of them we don't see. But it also mentions here, this is where we get our perspective on our spirit career that follows after graduation from the mansion worlds, which is
Moransha training.
yeah, which is kind of interesting. Let me see if I can get this to work. Yeah, there we go. All right, the Assistant System Sovereign makes frequent visits to this world, and the initial instruction is here begun in the technique of universe administration. The first lessons embracing the affairs of the whole universe are now imparted. So what this is telling us is we are trained on universe administration starting on this world. Now, what do you have any ideas of why they would train us on universe administration?
Because we're going to become the administrators as
Yeah,
part of
in the 4 outer space levels. That's probably what we will be doing, is becoming system administrators and that sort of thing. So this is our first little information on doing just that. Okay, and this shows the Sixth Mansion world, and it talks about that the system sovereign makes frequent visits to the Sixth Mansion world. Okay, and from here we can go to the world of the spirit, which is number 6, right? But it's also where most people by this mansion world will fuse with their thought adjuster, and that's what this is down here. And it also shows the brilliant evening stars which come from this world of the spirit. You know, they're like the number 2 angels right under Gabriel. You remember, he's the bright morning star, and the brilliant evening stars would reside on these worlds. All right, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. This is a brilliant age for ascending mortals, and usually witnesses the perfect fusion of the human mind and the divine adjuster. In potential, this fusion may have occurred previously, but the actual working identity many times is not achieved until the time of the sojourn on the 5th mansion world, or even the 6th.
Okay, this has got a little nugget inside this paragraph that you can miss really easily, okay? And that is, you can fuse with your adjuster before you get to this world. And many times you're not mature enough to achieve this potential of perfect fusion until you get to this world. So if you fused with your adjuster before you left this planet, this is probably the case. You would still need to go through the different mansion worlds and learn all the lessons about the different mansion worlds. And by the time you got to the 6th mansion world, you would really have a good understanding of what a cosmic citizen is, right? So that's why this is very, very important.
Well, we don't fuse until the 5th or 6th mansion world.
Most people, many people don't, Millie, but you can fuse on this planet. Many people of advanced standing or closer to the age of light and life fuse before they ever leave the planet. And actually, on many planets, they have these huge places that's outside with seats and stuff, where people can go and fuse because their thought adjuster tell them they're being prepared to fuse. So they can invite all their families and friends, and they go out into the center of this thing, and they can watch their brothers and sisters and that sort of thing fuse right there on the planet and disappear. So
they disappear?
Yeah, they disappear in a flame of fire. You know, they call it chariots of fire. You know, so because when you fuse with the thought adjuster, you have no need of your body any longer. So it's consumed in fire immediately.
And then you don't have to go through the mansion worlds, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Well, yes, you do. Any lessons that you have not learned, you still have to go back and either teach on those worlds or learn those lessons on those worlds. So there's no skipping over any lesson.
Okay.
All right? But you may be in advanced standing all the way up to Jerusalem. In other words, you may become a Jerusalem citizen. But even if you do that, you're required to go back to the mansion worlds and teach others so that you get the idea of what you would have missed by fusing early like that. So
this is Tim's online.
All right, let me try to connect him again. So this, that's what usually happens by the 6th mansion world. Okay, by the 6th mansion world, you're prepared enough to become a full-fledged cosmic citizen, and the perfection of the fusion has worked all the things out. Even if you have fused before that period of time, I can't believe I can't connect with Tim.
It said he was online.
Yeah, it says on my
Maybe his computer died and he had to turn it off and turn it back on. Now he has to get Skype back up.
Yeah, he may have to. And unfortunately, every time you want to use Skype, it wants to update you, you know.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Okay, the union of the evolving immortal soul. Millie, would you take this one, please, dear?
I did the last one.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry, dear.
Diane to do this one.
Yeah. Get Diane to do this.
Got it. The union of the evolving immortal soul with the eternal and divine adjuster is signalized by the seraphic summoning of the supervising super angel for resurrected survivors and of the archangel of record for those going to judgment on the third day. And then, in the presence of such a survivor's Moranchi associates, these messengers of confirmation speak. This is a beloved son in whom I am well pleased.
Okay, so that's the adjuster responding to the fusion, right? That father fragment. Just like, remember when Jesus
Right.
came out of the water at his baptism, and the adjuster said, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased."
And when he says it to Millie and I, it will be, "This is a beloved
Daughter
in whom I am well pleased."
That's right. That's right. But interesting part of this is it says that they have a signalized by a seraphic summoning of a supervising super angel for the resurrection of survivors. So it's an of record that when this person wakes up on the mansion world, they are ready for fusion. So they come there in the presence of the Moranchi associates, the messengers. Then this happens. The fusion takes place right there in the reviving chamber of the mansion world.
This simple ceremony marks the entrance of an ascending mortal upon the eternal career of paradise service.
That's right. You become a real son of God, right? A cosmic citizen. Tim, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm back, Roger. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we're on paragraph 8.4. We just finished that. We're going to go on to the next one. All right. Get it all lined up. Okay. Immediately upon the confirmation of adjuster fusion, the new Moranchi being is introduced to his fellows for the first time by his new name and is granted the 40 days of spiritual retirement from all routine activities, wherein to commune with himself and to choose some one of the optional routes to Havona, and to select from the differential techniques of paradise attainment. Okay, so when this happens, you get 40 days off, and then you get to decide the best pathway for you individually to find Havona, right?
Well, what are the optional routes?
They don't tell us that, Millie. Apparently there's a lot of different ways you can go from the mansion worlds up to the constellations to Havona. And it's probably predicated on stopping and serving on different worlds and that sort of thing that you find interest in. So, but I'm sure before this happens, they counsel you on what the different routes are, what the consequences of going the different routes and that sort of stuff. But other than that, they don't give us a whole lot of information other than what's in the Urantia book of the pathway to paradise. Right?
Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
When they say the assistant system sovereign, what exactly are they? Who are they identifying?
They're talking about. I wish you wouldn't have asked me that because I don't know the exact answer. I probably haven't read either. The assistant system sovereign is the right-hand man of Lanaforge, but I can't recall his name off the top of my head, to be honest. It's on this chart somewhere, though, if I can find it real quick. Let me see if I can find it for you. No, I don't see it. I don't want to take up too much time looking for it. But if you look up System Sovereign in the index, or the, not what am I talking about, not the index. It's probably in the index too.
Where is it?
You can probably find it.
Oh dear.
So is there one
Topical
system
index.
sovereign to every system?
Yes, there's one system sovereign to every system, and then he has an associate, which is an assistant sovereign, and normally, Tim, they are the same level as the system sovereign is. In other words, If it's a Lenanendek Sun, the assistant system sovereign would be a Lenanendek Sun 2. But normally in their cabinet there's 4 or 5 up to 6 system sovereigns involved, or not system sovereigns, that same level in running the universe. Okay, here we go. First assistant sovereign is Mansaresha, okay? And he's a tertiary Lenanendek. Okay, the second assistant sovereign is Sadib, and he is a tertiary system sovereign. The system custodian, Holden, is a tertiary Lenanendek. And the system recorder, oh, that's Rodney, is a assistant system, not assistant system, I'm confusing myself now, is a secondary Lenanendek. The High Counselor, Hanavard, is a primary Lenanendek. And the Supreme Advisory Board of 12 members of all classes, and the 20 and 4 counselors ascending chosen by mortals. So, Lanaforge, a primary Lenanendek, has a cabinet of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other Lenanendek as his cabinet. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And when they say the word high spirits of the super universe, who exactly are they identifying as?
They're talking about the
Super angels.
the super angels of the brilliant evening stars. Okay? That's what they're talking about there. Right. All right. Tim, would you take the oh, I just read that, didn't I? Would you take the next one, please?
But still, beings more or less material. They are far from being true spirits. They are more like supermortals, spiritually speaking, still a little lower than the angels. But they are truly becoming marvelous creatures.
Now they're talking about the fused mortals here, right? Let's not get confused who they're talking about. So after fusion, we're like supermortals, spiritually speaking, but we're still a little lower than the angels, right? So a question comes to mind, are we above the midwayers at that point? Or are we still below the midwayers?
Maybe the midwayers have already ascended beyond this.
Yeah, good question.
Because they're also ascending
Don't know.
at that time right there.
Yeah. Okay. Tim, would you take the next one, please?
Okay, you want me to read again, Roger?
He just read
Oh,
it.
you just, I'm sorry, Tim.
He's not feeling well tonight, y'all.
That's okay.
I'm running a fever, so I'm liable to do anything tonight.
Sorry to hear that. Hope you feel better.
Would you take the next one, please, dear?
Who did you ask?
Millie? You?
Okay, I'll do it. During the sojourn on world number 6, the Mansion World students achieve a status which is comparable with the exalted development characterizing those evolutionary worlds which have normally progressed beyond the initial stage of light and life. The organization of society on the Mansonia is of a high order. The shadow of the mortal nature grows less and less as these worlds are ascended one by one. You are becoming more and more adorable as you leave behind the coarse vestiges of planetary animal origin. Coming up through great tribulation serves to make glorified mortals very kind and understanding, very sympathetic and tolerant.
Okay, so we're growing constantly, right? The sixth mansion world, we're about at the level of the initial states of light and life on those planets, right? This is just the initial stages. Another interesting part about this is that you become more adorable as you leave behind the coarse vestiges of planetary animal origin. How many of y'all, when you're out talking to folks and things, and you say something and you think to yourself immediately as it comes out of your mouth, I wish I was enlightened enough not to say things like that?
Oh yeah, happened many times.
You know, this is the growing in the mansion worlds is about. You leave those moments behind because you retrain your new mind not to do those sort of things, right? So it makes a big difference. So I look forward to that day because I stick my foot in my mouth a lot. You know,
I sure do.
I think we all do.
I'm looking forward to becoming more adorable.
Yes, we do. They need a lot of work for me to do that. All right. Rodney, would you take the next one, the seventh mention?
Okay, yeah, number 9, the seventh mansion world. The experience on this sphere is the crowning achievement of the immediate post-mortal career. During your sojourn here, you will receive the instruction of many teachers, all of whom will cooperate in the task of preparing you for residence on Jerusalem. Any discernible differences between those mortals hailing from the isolated and retarded worlds
That's where we live.
That's us.
Yeah.
and those survivors from the more advanced and enlightened spheres are virtually obliterated during the sojourn on the seventh mansion world. Here you will be purged of all the remnants of unfortunate heredity, unwholesome environment, and unspiritual planetary tendencies. The last remnants of the mark of the beast are here eradicated.
So before you go on to Jerusalem in the seventh mansion world, they get rid of all your inappropriate beastly tendencies, right? So all the barbarianism in you is gone, all the prejudices are gone, all the discontent you have with other types of beings will be gone. So the mark of the beast, or that thing that makes us beastly, which we see all over this world right now, will be totally gone and eradicated. By that time, you're ready to jump on to the...
I wonder if we'll ever miss it.
Yeah. I would miss it now, you know.
Look back.
Hey Roger, I had a question.
Sure.
On section 8, where it just says, but still are these brilliant beings more or less material? They are far from being true spirits. They are more like supermortals, spiritually speaking.
Yes.
Still a little lower. That's us, right?
That's us in the Morancha form, Tim. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're still considered material in the Morancha form, okay? We don't really get rid of our material tag until when?
The seventh mansion world.
Well, yeah, we hit the spiritual. That actually is we get that when we jump off from Salvington and go on to Havana. Okay.
So hey Roger, when do we get to experience the light and life? When we get to mansion world number 6, or is it 7?
Both 6 and 7, Tim. We start to realize what planets who are already in light and life are like, because that will be like the 6th mansion world. And by the time we get to the 7th mansion world, that planet will be wholly like a planet that is in light and life. And
okay, thank you.
we can't even probably imagine. There's probably technology there that's beyond our comprehension, and you don't have to work for food ever in the mansion world and things like that. Your jobs are related to spiritual growth, right? So, and everyone works. Everybody, half the time when you get to the mansion world is doing spiritual jobs, helping out. So, it's not like we get out there and sit around and goof off. That's not it at all. Although
so the spiritual, yeah, go ahead.
Although we have 50% of our time is for rest and relaxation and socializing and reversion and that sort of thing. But half of our time is done doing spiritual jobs. So think of it this way. When you study this book, and it's very difficult in places and it takes effort, you have to use your mind to get through it. That is what? That is spiritual work, okay? So what you do on this planet, if you spend half your time preparing your soul and doing your spiritual work, you'll be already ready for the first mansion world, right? Oh, I lost him again.
So, Roger?
Yeah.
There's still an economy.
There's still an economy, but Most of the economy, Rodney, it sounds like from what I've read, is automatic. It's handled by the Sporangia that take care of a lot of the physical labor and things like that.
So it frees you up.
So it frees you up to handle spiritual matters. Let's try to get Tim back again. Might be these stones.
Rodney, I lost the word you used. There's still the what?
An economy? Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand how that fit.
Well, what he's talking about, the economy, is somebody has to provide materials for house or home.
Yeah, there's still like merchants, you know,
Merchants,
to
that's
the
right.
store and
Store, food
Fuel.
sources, things like that. And most of that's taken care of, it sounds like to me, by the Spermasia. Okay? So,
Thank you.
all right. I lost him again. Let me see if I can get him back. Okay.
I'm back, Roger. Thank you.
You back? Okay. Who's up?
Diane.
Diane?
While sojourning on Mansonia number 7, permission is granted to visit Transition World number 7, the world of the Universal Father. Here you begin a new and more spiritual worship of the unseen Father, a habit you will increasingly pursue all the way up through your long ascending career. You find the Father's temple on this world of transitional culture, but you do not see the Father.
Now, why is that? Because the Father is not visible on this world, is he? And that's part of the worship of the Father in this world. You really learn how to worship properly. You know, we don't go into a corner and pray for winning the lottery. You know, we're there to worship God the Father for what He is. You know.
So, hey, Roger, when they say retarded worlds, they're pretty much talking about Urantia and other ones just like ours?
Yeah, rebellion worlds, the other 39 rebellion worlds in our local system. Yeah, that's what they're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder how the other 39 rebellion worlds are making out.
Probably about the same level as we are, Millie, because it's a slow process to recover from something like this. All right. Am I up? I'm up now. Now begins the formation of classes for graduation to Jerusalem. In groups, You have gone from world to world as individuals, but now you prepare to depart for Jerusalem in groups. Although within certain limits, an ascender may elect to tarry on the seventh mentioned world for the purpose of enabling a tardy member of his earthly or Maraja working group to catch up with him. So if you have a husband or wife or loved one that you want to go through this experience with you, you can hang out on the seventh mentioned world and wait for them to catch up.
You mean like, I wish they'd hurry and die?
Huh?
Like I wish they would hurry and die?
Well, you don't want to wish they hurry and die, but once you get to the mansion world, time is of no essence, Rodney. So waiting another 100 years or 1,000 years is a drop in the bucket, you know. It's just, it's nothing, really. You know. Time is, in essence, is a earthly physical thing, right? All right. This is a picture of the classes forming in Mansion World number 7. And this is the Sea of Glass and the teaching staff. And they're ready to visit the Father's world because they made it to world number 7. But they're also being prepared in groups to move to Jerusalem. Okay? So you may be in a group of 1,000 that gets moved all at the same time. So you'll know, you'll be familiar with beings around you and who's in your group, that sort of thing.
He said he was going to have some problems tonight.
Yeah, we lost him. He was trying to get him back again. That could be our end.
I thought the Sea of Glass was on Mansion World number 2.
It's on every Mansion World after World number 2.
Oh, meaning
So-
different Sea of Glass.
There's a Sea of Glass on every satellite on every planet after Mansion World number 2.
Wow, okay.
This is where the angels come and go from.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Sea of Glass.
Sea of Glass. That's right. it's trying to get Tim back for us. So.
Wow.
Okay, and I think Tim was up to read, wasn't he?
Says he's online. Oops.
Yeah.
He's having problems again, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. It must be his internet service or something, or his computer one.
Well, there have been a lot of storms.
Yeah, I tell you what, we've had some here the last 2 days. Okay, let's keep moving. Millie, would you take the next one then, since Tim's not around?
The personnel of the seven Mansonia assemble on the Sea of Glass to witness your departure for Jerusalem with residential status. Hundreds or thousands of times you may have visited Jerusalem, but always as a guest. Never before have you proceeded toward the system capital in the company of a group of your fellows who are bidding an eternal farewell to the whole Mansonia career as ascending mortals. You will soon be welcomed on the receiving field of the headquarters world as Jerusalem citizens.
You see the difference of what we're talking about here? You were ascending mortals going through the mansion world, and now you're Jerusalem citizen, and you'll go on as ascending mortals, but you'll be citizens of Jerusalem when you get there. And by this time you will have visited Jerusalem several times, probably. But this time you'll be going as a new citizen with a new location to live, right? Tim, are you back?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right.
Read quick before you go away again.
Yeah, really. Why don't you take the next one?
Hurry.
Okay, you will greatly enjoy your progress through the 7 dematerializing worlds. They are really terrorizing spheres.
Demoralizing.
Immortalized.
Demoralizing spheres.
Right.
You are mostly human.
We lose him?
I think so.
He didn't read fast enough.
Did we lose him?
Rod Vegas.
Yeah, we lost him.
It's too bad.
All right, Rodney, you want to start from...
Okay, you are mostly human on the first mansion world. Just a mortal being minus a material body. A human mind housed in a Morancha form. A material body of the Morancha world, but not a mortal house of flesh and blood. You really pass from the mortal state to the immortal status at the time of adjuster fusion. And by the time you have finished the Jerusalem career, you will be full-fledged Moranchians.
Full-fledged Moranchians by the time you finish the Jerusalem career, right?
Just a mortal being minus material body.
That's
That
right.
does not sound like fun.
So it's a human mind housed
You're
in
the
the
same,
Morancha form.
Thanks, Sam.
same as you are here, but without the flesh and blood.
Yeah, without
That's
flesh,
Same.
flesh and blood, but we have a Morancha body.
We've been in the Morancha body since
Yeah.
mansion number
One.
1, so.
Yeah,
But still the same mind we possess right now.
same mind you possess like right now, but think about
You
it
must
this
work
way.
on getting it better.
It's much improved, right?
But the brain is improved.
The brain's improved. All those functions that the brain does, like remembering, is enhanced thousands of times. When you learn something on the Morancha spheres, you don't forget it. You don't have to keep doing it. You know, I've read this book, I don't know how many times, over 50 I know, but maybe 100. It's possible. I'm not sure. But the thing of it is, I've had to do that to remember things in it, right? When I get a new Morancha brain, I won't have to read it anything but once, and I got it. You know, that's the big difference. Okay?
That's encouraging.
What do you
So
think?
that verse is basically explaining it to you like that.
Yeah, it is. Now, Tim, we're going to try it again. You want to take number 10, Jerusalem?
Yes.
Citizen?
Mhm.
The reception of a new class of Mansion World graduates is a signal for all Jerusalem to assemble as a committee of welcome. Even the Spornagia enjoy the arrival of these ascenders of evolutionary origin. Those who have run the planetary race and finished the mansion world progression. Only the physical controllers and Morontia power supervisors are absent from these occasions of rejoicing.
They can't be there, can they?
Right,
They
no.
keep things running, so they're not allowed. But even the Spornasia, remember the Spornasia don't have souls, but they enjoy the joy of the occasion because of these ascenders coming to the planet and
So,
rejoicing.
Roger,
Yeah,
either there's a mass quantity that comes in just, occasionally,
yes.
or not many people make it through.
No, it's a mass quality that comes probably quite frequently, Rodney. But their quite frequently might be every 30 days, and our quite frequently would seem like every day, right? So,
I mean, it's for all these, the welcoming community to get together like once a month.
yeah, just to rejoice over the mortals who have finished the race through the mansion worlds.
Well, I guess that would be
It's a
good.
lot.
It's kind of like graduating from kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
You want to be there when your child graduates from kindergarten, just to see him or her become a true student, right? It's kind of like that. It's the joy of the moment. Okay, dear, I think you're up.
John the Revelator saw a vision of the arrival of a class of advancing mortals from the seventh mansion world to their first heaven, the glories of Jerusalem. He recorded, "And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who had gained the victory over the beast that was originally in them, and over the image that persisted through the mansion worlds, and finally over the last mark and trace, standing on the sea of glass, having the harps of God, and singing the songs of deliverance from mortal fear and death. Perfected space communication is to be had on all these worlds, and your anywhere reception of such communication is made possible by carrying the harp of God, a
Morontia.
Morontic contrivance compensating for the inability to directly adjust the immature Morontia sensory mechanism to the reception of space communications."
Okay, so let's clear up something from the book of Revelation right now. Okay, we're talking about John the Revelator, and we know this is John Zebedee, right? John the Revelator. Okay, he lived to 102 years old. He stuck around a long time after Jesus was gone.
And this was the book of Revelation.
This is the book of Revelation, right? And it talks about in the book of Revelation, I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire. And those who gained the victory over the beast that was originally in them. What is he talking about then?
Well, we thought Satan.
We thought for years it was Satan, didn't we?
Yeah, that's the way I was taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we know it's not Satan. It's our beastly tendencies that we've inherited from our barbaric upbringing down through the centuries, right? So it's got nothing to do with Satan.
Well, they didn't believe in
Lucifer.
evolutionary process then either,
No, they didn't.
much less the ascension plan. They
Okay.
didn't know about it. So.
And it goes on to say that it was originally in them and over the image that persists through the mansion worlds. In other words, it's hard to get rid of this mark of the beast or the beastly tendencies or what? Barbarianism. It's not an instant thing. You don't magically turn into a perfect being when you wake up on the mansion worlds. You have to work at it to get rid of it, right? And then let's go on. It talks about the harp of God. The harp of God has dual function. But he's talking here, John the Revelator was talking about singing the song of deliverance from mortal fear and death. And that's what we do, right? We're grateful to be past all that, right? But it goes on to tell us that the harp of God is not just for singing, is it? It's for space communication and space broadcasts so that we can understand the broadcasts that come in from all over the universe. Okay?
And remember, Bill made a good point that he thought it would be like either an iPod or an iPad.
It may be very well, Rodney. I mean, it may very well be just exactly like something like that.
So is it kind of shaped like a harp, Roger?
Yeah, it's shaped like a harp, I guess, because he called it the harp of God. And he may have called it that because that's the only thing that John could associate with what these people were holding. You
But
know?
the music coming out of it, that's
The music
probably all
coming, there
we
you
can
go.
associate with.
Yeah,
Kind of
so
like an auto harp.
like an auto harp
where
or
you're
whatever.
holding it and it's,
And it may actually had music coming out of it with the space communications.
yeah.
They didn't have string instruments back then, only
No, but John the Revelator saw this thing and heard these things, so he associated with the only thing he could associate with. You know, during his time there were harps. You know, so he called it the harp of God. Right. All right.
Well, the harp had strings then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it may not have strings.
Well, you know, it could
It
be
may
a
be a
harmonica
flat
too.
screen. Yeah.
You hear the harmonica is a harp too.
Yeah.
They refer to the harmonica.
And it may not have any musical things at all. It may
Yeah.
just be a flat screen that it comes through.
that's what I figured.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. Paul also had a view of the ascendant citizen core of perfecting mortals on Jerusalem. For he wrote, "But you have come to Mount Zion, and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the grand assembly of Michael, and to the spirits of just men being made perfect." What Paul were they talking about there? Paul the Apostle. That's right. That's right. So he was plugged in there, wasn't he? Right?
Well, Apostle Paul was not an apostle.
No, he
He was
wasn't
not.
really an apostle, but he's been called the Apostle Paul down through the centuries for years. You know, he's a self-proclaimed apostle, right?
He's a convert.
He's a convert. That's right.
He converted himself.
Yeah.
Did he even know Jesus?
No, he had never met Jesus. Never met.
He was actually the founder of Christianity.
Yes, he really was. The Christianity we know of today really is. The
So I wonder why
tendencies
he
of
made this statement.
Huh?
I wonder why he made this statement.
He may have been given a vision during his worship at some time, Rodney. I'm not sure. Really not. You know, there's a lot of people that see visions and have celestial visitations that are not shared down through the century. Even then, because there was no way to record them, that was easy. You know, and Paul was a very busy man running around trying to convert the world to Christianity. Right. All right. Let's keep going. Tim, would you take the next one?
After mortals have attained residence on the system headquarters, no more literal resurrections will be experienced. The mantra form granted you on departure from the mansion world career is such as will see you through to the end of the local universe experience. Changes will be made from time to time, but you will retain this same form until you bid it farewell when you emerge as first stage spirit preparatory for transit to the super universe worlds of ascending culture and spirit training.
So this form that you get will serve you all the way through the mansion worlds, but this seventh resurrection is the last resurrection. From then that point on, you'll be tuned for each new planet, right? New bodies.
And we're also first stage spirits?
No, we won't be first stage spirits till we leave Salvington. When we leave Salvington, you'll stand before Jesus and you'll hear Jesus tell you, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." At that point, you'll be given clearance to go on to the super universe adventure. And that is when you become a first stage spirit.
But what exactly is a first stage spirit?
There are 6 stages of spirit as you ascend up through Havona, Tim. The 7th, we all go into at the same time when the Supreme comes into full fruition. But it's just an advancement of spirits, of your spirit, as you learn more and more and more as you travel through the super universe rather than the local universe. The training's totally different.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
And you go through each different super universe.
No. You go through one super universe, but when you become a finalitor, you can be assigned to all 7 super universes.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
7 times do those mortals who pass through the entire Mansonia career experience the adjustment sleep and the resurrection awakening. But the last resurrection hall, the final awakening chamber, was left behind on the 7th mansion world. No more will a form change necessitate the lapse of consciousness or a break in the continuity of personal memory.
And we're going to find out in the next paper. It takes the power directors, I think it is, 7 days when you are resurrected from one mansion world to another to put you in that new resurrected body each time.
It takes 7 days for what?
To be resurrected from one mansion world to the next.
It takes a whole week.
Yeah, sure does.
Of unconsciousness?
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's
so,
strange.
So the resurrection is literally a 7-time resurrection. You go to sleep, you wake up again. 7 times. Right?
For 7 days. That's
for
weird.
7 days. We're going to cover that on the next paper.
But you have the same
Morancha
body, the same Morancha body.
Same Morancha body, it's tweaked each time.
But the tweak
Well,
will take
why
It
action.
actually says in the Morancha paper coming up next week that it actually states it this way, which is kind of interesting. It states that the power directors, I think it's power directors, that provide the bodies for you, provide you 570 different bodies. Even though it's just tuned, it's still, when you change from body, I mean, when you change from one type of being to another, it's like a whole new body all over again to you.
And then, hey, Roger, when we reach spirit, we won't have any more Morancha bodies, correct?
We won't. We'll have a spirit body, a physical spirit essence. Yeah. So, okay, who's that? Rodney? Rodney, would you take them?
The mortal personality, excuse me, initiated on the evolutionary worlds and tabernacled in the flesh and dwelt by the mystery monitors and invested by the spirit of truth, is not fully mobilized, realized, and unified until that day when such a Jerusalem citizen is given clearance for Edentia and proclaimed a true member of the Morancha Corps of Nebanon, an immortal survivor of a Juster Association, a Paradise Ascender, a personality of Morancha status, and a true child of the Most Highs.
That's a description of what you become right before you leave Jerusalem, right?
Wow.
And it's a very good description because it says here, we came from an evolutionary world, right? Tabernacle of the flesh. We're indwelt by mystery monitors. What is mystery monitors? That's the thought adjusters, right? Vested by the Spirit of Truth. In other words, the Spirit of Truth has okayed us and taught us all the way through these mansion worlds. And then it goes on, it says, the Jerusalem citizen is given clearance for Edentia. What's Edentia? Edentia is our constellation capital. So we're leaving our local universe, right? Our system there.
Yeah, local system.
We're leaving our system and we're going on through our local universe, right? Constellation level, right? And they call us a true member of the Morancha Corps of Nebanon. What is Nebanon? Nebanon is the name of our local universe created by Michael, right? And then it goes on to explain who we are. An immortal survivor of a Juster Association, a Paradise Ascender. In other words, we're cleared to go all the way to paradise. So we're considered an ascender. Okay, and we're the personality right now, Morancha status, and a true child of the Most Highs. We've done all that's required of us to be approved by the Most Highs to go on to Edentia, to the constellation, and eventually to Salvation. Right? We lost him again.
Mortal death is a technique of escape from the material life in the flesh. and the Mansonia experience of progressive life through 7 worlds of corrective training and cultural education represents the introduction of mortal survivors to the Morontia career, the transition life which intervenes between the evolutionary material existence and the higher spirit attainment of the ascenders of time, who are destined to achieve the portals of eternity.
Let me see if I can get Tim back to course here.
I'm back, Roger. Thank you.
Okay.
Sponsored by Brilliant Evening Star.
Sponsored by a Brilliant Evening Star. Okay, so mortal death, this is important, the very last paragraph, is a technique of escape from material life in the flesh. That's all it is. Okay? Death is escape from this existence to what? A Mansonia experience, right? Which gives us an opportunity to go through the 7 mansion worlds and continue on and eventually become what? Paradise ascenders. Stand before God the Father, right?
Hey, Roger, I just had a question about Michael. Maybe you could help me with.
Sure.
It takes place at paper 37, and it says, at the head of all personalities in Nebadon stands the creator and master son, Michael, the universe father and sovereign. They're talking about Michael and Nebadon, right?
Right, they are.
So what's the difference between Michael and Nebadon and then Michael the firstborn, the first Michael?
They're exactly the same, Tim.
So
No. I'm sorry, no. You're talking about the very first Michael.
Right, he was
created
the
in
first
paradise.
Michael that was created by the Eternal Son and Father?
Oh.
Yeah, he was the very first Michael that created a local universe and went through the experience of creating a local universe. The reason they call him the first Michael, Tim, is it's the order, quote, quote, of Michael. In other words, all creator sons are part of the actually 700,000 Michaels, or actually a million Michaels, but the 700,000 in the 7 local universes. But they're all considered the order of Michael. His real name is actually not Michael. He's just called Michael because he's of the order of Michael. It's kind of like Melchizedek being called Melchizedek because he's the order of Melchizedek.
But I thought the first Michael was the Eternal Son, and the Eternal
No.
Son had to actually experience.
No, there was a first Michael after the Eternal Son. The Eternal Son is not considered the first Michael. He's part
So
of
the first Michael was just a part of that order.
Yeah, he was the very first Michael to go out and start. He was the first one to go out and start it. Okay?
And he's not the Eternal Son, and he's
And
not
he's
the
not-
Universe Father.
No, he's not. He's
Okay,
not.
thank you.
He's on the same level as our Michael. The difference is, since he was the first one, he's the chairman of all the Michaels when they meet in paradise.
Correct.
Okay? And that's the only difference between him and our Michael. But y'all realize, we call him Jesus of Nazareth because that's the name they gave him when he came here. But Michael, our universe creator, has a heavenly name that is totally different than Michael. They don't tell us what it is for some reason. I have no idea why, but they do not give us his heavenly name. But just like when we fuse with the adjuster, they give us a heavenly name. We'll receive a new name also when we fuse. So Michael's name may be so holy that they do not just give it out on
Right.
occasion. That's why he's referred to as Michael of Nebadon. Okay? Because he's the order of Michael of the local universe of Nebadon. Right? And that's why when we address him, I always say Michael of Nebadon or Jesus of Nazareth, so that people know who he is. He's the same being. It's just that he's got a different name for his position.
So, Roger, would it be correct to say that Michaels, they're like clones, right? Comparatively speaking?
No, they're not, Rodney, because they all have individual personalities just like we do. So I would assume that each of the Michaels, according to their personality, appear differently too. So,
Okay, interesting.
that kind of ends us for tonight. Let me stop the video, and then we'll have just a word. Thank you for joining us. Please come and see us again.
and